You may not be familiar with AA, but you have heard of it before. You know, the sharing stories, introducing yourself like, "Hi, I'm Pom and I'm a recovering addict." However, when doing research, one of the most popular searches for AA is AA a cult? To put it simply, no. AA is not a cult, and even if it was, it would be a very boring cult to join. Now before I start, I do want to lay some ground rules. I am speaking as someone who went to rehab and attended their fair share of AA and NA meetings. I have also attended Marijuana Anonymous, CODA, and even ASAPAD meetings. Also, for the sake of my voice, I'll be referring to the both of them as purely AA. With that out of the way, let's go. When people first start getting into AA, they may be overwhelmed by the amount of God talk. Is it any surprise people jump onto the cult label? I think the reason people jump to it is the lack of understanding of the 12-step program, but also what a cult is. Let's talk about the 12-step program, as that's the shorter of the two. The 12-step program is a faith-based recovery program for addicts. It was first established for alcoholics, but now features a second denomination for narcotics. It is a series of steps that involves one surrendering to God, or really any higher being, and delivering that same message to other addicts. I think a lot of people trip up on this part, as it involves surrendering to a higher being, and that could be interpreted as being cult-like. But here's the rub. AA isn't a cult. Not even by cult standards. Speaking of cults, as I mentioned before, this is because people don't understand cults. Cults involve excessive power and control, abuse, and a leader who is able to snare vulnerable people into their vicinity by being charismatic. Aside from that, this video that served as inspiration for this video essay mentions two key aspects of a cult: loss of autonomy and isolation from society. All AA fellowships are fully autonomous. No meeting or fellowship is going to be the same. There is no hierarchy and is typically established by volunteers. Cults, on the other hand, establish a clear hierarchy and everyone is expected to be the same and follow the rules to a letter. This involves a lot of stripping of one's identity, which in my opinion is the worst kind of death someone can be put through. Stripping someone of their identity is one of the most evil things you can do to someone. Without their identity, they're nothing. Another aspect mentioned in that video is isolation from society. Eventually, cults will sever ties with the outside world through various means, such as promising a better life or brainwashing the victim into believing that the outside world is dangerous or filled with non-believers. This can lead to the victim losing connections with their friends, their job, family, and even the community they live in. The only thing AA requires you to do is to have a desire to stop drinking or using. Meetings are optional and you don't even have to share. The reason why people share is to impart lessons that they have learned, but to also give insight. In that, when someone shares, there is a chance that someone else may be able to relate to their story. It's like group therapy, but for addicts. AA does not have a leader or a branch of officials. It is completely run by the fellowship and does not have any ties or affiliations with any group. They do need donations to be able to have the utilities for the buildings. No one is forced to go to these meetings, unless if you go to rehab, but that's more based on guidelines than abuse. Speaking from my experience with AA meetings, they are usually open meetings where anyone can walk in and share. There is an expectancy to maintaining people's privacy, whether that's through not sharing what was discussed in the meeting, and typically lasted an hour. Usually there would be someone who volunteered to share their story, and it would then lead to an open discussion on really whatever. So if we were to apply the definition of cult to AA, it would be one of, if not the most boring cult in existence. And even then, there isn't a leg for it to stand on for it to be classified as a cult. Now, I'm not saying that the 12-step program is perfect. It's definitely not for everyone. As I mentioned, it is a faith-based treatment program, and a lot of people I know, myself included, who have trauma centered around religion. On top of that, there are plenty of things to criticize Alcoholics Anonymous for, like how the solution to fixing your problem is through finding spiritual meaning, even though not everyone is that spiritual. If that's not your thing, there are secular meetings and group therapies you can attend. Another thing I personally recommend is Smart Recovery. It is a form of evidence-based therapy that uses science to get to the root of why someone may use substances. You can download the app where there are worksheets and even a meeting finder. To sum up, AA is not a cult. People have a fundamental lack of understanding in terms of how both AA and cults work. AA strives to help people. Cults seek vulnerable people to exploit. Hey y'all, Pomeranian Prince here. Just wanted to thank you guys so much for watching this video and for sticking by me during the hiatus. 2024 has been one hell of a year, and I just know it was a rough year for a lot of people as well. As I mentioned, I got sent to rehab, and honestly, that was definitely for the better. I feel like a changed person overall. Another thing that I want to mention is this video in particular. It served as a major inspiration for this video being created alongside with my own personal experiences from being in rehab and for attending a lot of AA and NA meetings. But, yeah, that's really it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Bye!